What's up everybody, and welcome to another episode of Drive to Thrive. My name is Adrian and it's been a while since I put out any kind of Lightspeed update, so why don't we take a look at the latest earnings here as well as some charts and possibly try to figure out how much lower we can go and what is a great buying opportunity. So buckle up and let's get started. Alright y'all, let's start off with our Q4 Lightspeed earnings here. So lots of good stuff in here, but I'll just jump into the important stuff. So let's go over the operational highlights here. So the total revenue for fourth quarter was 146.6 million, which was up 78% year over year due to strong organic growth and also a combination of acquisitions. Now, subscription and transactional based revenue grew 82% year over year to 137.3 million. So the organic growth in subscription and transactional based revenue was 48% year over year. Subscription revenue increased by 77% to 70.5 million. So that is great because that's where they're making lots of their money, is off of the subscription. Now, transaction based revenue was 66.7 million, which grew by 88% year over year. So again, phenomenal growth here. Gross payment volume here increased to 132%, 2.2 billion from 1 billion in the same period last year. Now, consumer locations increased to 163,000 from 159, so that is about 4,000 store locations increase, so that is pretty good. Average revenue per unit, that's what the ARPU stands for, grew by 35% to approximately around $270 compared to just over $200 in the same quarter last year. And then subscription ARPU increased to $132 from $113 a year. So again, increase in cost, is making more revenue, so that is good to see. Now let's go down the list here. So for the quarter, Lightspeed customers processed gross transactional value of 18.4 billion, up 71% year over year, so that is incredible. Omni-channel retail GTV grew by 74%, whereas hospitality grew by 67%. Organic GTV grew by 39% year over year, and organic omni-channel retail gross transactional value grew at 17%, and hospitality grew at 67%. So it looks like hospitality, which makes sense because everybody's coming out of the lockdowns here, everybody's going out in person again, so that is where most of the revenue came from. Now, Lightspeed observed that a shift in consumer spending resulted in a slowdown in certain retail categories such as bike and garden supplies, and a resurgence in other categories such as hospitality, fashion, and apparel. So that is nice. That's again people going out, spending some money, going out in person. Now let's see, as a percentage of revenue, adjusted EBITDA was about negative 13.5% versus negative 11.7% for the same quarter last year. So it looks like that EBITDA grew. Again, we're trying to bring that number down. And as of March 31st, 2022, 6.3 million merchant cash advances were outstanding, up 20% from the previous quarter. So again, we want to see those numbers go down. So those are kind of two numbers that I would like to see come down over the next few quarters here, is that adjusted EBITDA and also the outstanding cash advancements here. So let's take a look at overall numbers for the year, and then we'll go over to some outlooks for next quarter and what 2023 is looking like. So their full fiscal year highlights were total revenue was 548.4 million, an increase of 147%. So that was a beat. They were projecting anywhere between 540 million to 544, so they came in at 548, so that was a nice beat. Subscription revenue of 248.4 million, an increase of 108%. So again, growing nice and steady here. Transaction-based revenue was 264 million, an increase of 218%. Now let's look at the loss. So a net loss of 288.4 million, or $2.04 per share. So that is quite high. It represents about 52.6% of the revenue. So that is a pretty high number. We need to see those losses come down into the 20%, somewhere around 25 to 30% would be ideal. Now, after adjusting for certain things such as acquisitions and share-based compensation, the adjusted loss was around 53 million, or 37 cents per share. Adjusted EBITDA loss came in at 41.5 million, representing about 7.6% of revenue. So that is good. That number is going down, and hopefully it keeps going down into the 5 and 4% for the adjusted EBITDA loss here. Now let's take a look at what they're projecting here. So let's start off with a first quarter here for 2023. So expect a revenue of around 165 to 170 million, just an EBITDA loss of approximately 16 million, so around 10% of revenue. Now let's take a look at the fiscal 2023 projections here. So the revenue, they're expecting around 740 to 760 million, so that is an average growth of around 35 to 40%. So remember, for 2022 fiscal year, they had a revenue of 548 million, so that's a nice increase there. An adjusted EBITDA loss of approximately 35 to 40 million, so around 5% of revenue. So that is what I'm talking about. That 5% of revenue is what we want to see. So those are the earnings for Lightspeed. Overall, I was pretty happy, guys. The numbers look good, they're growing, so I'm still very optimistic about Lightspeed in the future. Obviously, the stock's been coming down, but what hasn't been getting destroyed here in the last 6 months? So what I've been doing, still dollar cost averaging, still buying some shares here, not going super heavy because I do expect maybe a little bit more downside. So I do want to kind of scale into these trades, into these positions, but I am still buying and still dollar cost averaging. As of today, I checked, I'm somewhere around my average price for Lightspeed is sitting around $35, which isn't too bad considering the price of Lightspeed is sitting at around $23 right now. So give or take about 35% of downside so far. Now let's go over to some charts and let's see where we can possibly head from here. So let's start off with the chart here. So this is our daily chart of Lightspeed. So if we zoom in here, currently we're sitting below this $24 resistance. Now, as you can see, it looks like we're just approaching it to retest it. Now, two scenarios. Scenario number one I'm preparing for is we get rejected off of here and watch us kind of keep on going lower here. How much lower? I mean, honestly, I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if you go and revisit the all-time lows at around that $8, possibly $10, which again, I will be buying more shares at here just to try and dollar cost average down. But hopefully we do see a bounce off of here, especially after those earnings. I mean, those were some solid numbers they put out. Now, scenario number two is we do end up breaking past here, you know, again, maybe consolidating here for a bit and start taking out those highs. Again, my bold prediction for the year is still around that $55, which I know is quite crazy considering that'd be an increase of around 149%. So again, that is a very optimistic projection for Lightspeed for this year, but eventually I really do think we will hit those gaps here. So if I go back into my daily chart here, you know, like this massive gap here is just staring me right in the eyes. Like, I don't know how long it's going to take, but I do believe we will fill this gap in. Now let's take a look here at the MACD. So our MACD is sitting in this bearish momentum right now, crossing over a little bit here and trying to get that momentum to the upside. The stochastic RSI is sitting in this overbought territory. So again, look for this thing to come down, which could easily mean that the stock just starts getting rejected off of this $23 level and we go lower from here, especially if the whole broader market goes down. Now let's go over to our weekly chart here. On the weekly chart, what I was surprised, even though we had this massive pullback, we're actually still sitting quite nice over here. We do have that crossover. If you guys can see that on the MACD, this is on the weekly. We are in this bearish momentum right now, but we at least have that crossover to the upside. The stochastic RSI is kind of sitting in this no man's land. It's either will turn back up or maybe go a little bit lower here. Again, depends what the whole broader market does. And on the monthly chart, sitting flat here on the stochastic RSI, and that MACD is approaching that zero line, as you guys can see. Though the chart does look awful on that monthly chart though. If you can see, let's see, from those all-time highs back in September down to where we are currently, we're down 83%. So unbelievable. I do like the potential of this company. They are growing, they're going in the right direction. So I am buying the shares here. Again, I'm trying to be smart about it, not putting all my eggs into one basket. But I definitely want to build out at least, you know, anywhere to 8 to 10% of my portfolio in Lightspeed. So hopefully this helps, guys. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Also, if you want to come and have a chat, talk about Lightspeed or any other stock out there, come and check out that Facebook group. I'll have a link in the description below. Otherwise, have an awesome day, enjoy spring, and we'll see you next time. Ciao.